This is a story for Elizabeth and Jacob, the fox and the rook. The cawing of rooks filled the air as they swept across the pink sky, swooping to and fro in a black cloud towards their untidy homes in the treetops. They were led by an old and greying bird whose word was law, and behind him came the other older members of the family, who in turn were followed by the younger rooks who had been hatched in the spring. These were impatient young birds, proud of their strong young wings and throaty voices. Lagging far behind them, apart from the others, was the most conceited young rook of all. She had no need to hurry because she was confident that she could easily catch up whenever she wanted. As her wings flapped lazily in the evening sky, her bright eyes spotted the open window of a house below her, and she decided to investigate. Swooping past the window, she was delighted to see a table in the room beyond laden with delicious food. Turning awkwardly, she looped backwards, flew down and through the open window and snatched up a large piece of beef. Her heart was beating with excitement. She flew with her prize to a small clump of fir trees standing nearby. The meat was heavy, and breathlessly she settled on a comfortable branch, her bright eyes sparkling with satisfaction and greed. A dying sunbeam glanced through the branches and settled on something brown and furry among the pine needles and bracken at the foot of the tree. The brown patch moved silently forward, and there, in the rose of the setting sun, was a fox. It was rather early for him to be setting out for his night's hunting, but he was very hungry after sleeping for most of the day. When he looked up and saw the rook with the juicy piece of meat in her mouth, his mouth watered with envy. The rook glanced down at him in scorn. She thought the fox a rather common form of creature. Why, he couldn't even fly. The fox concentrated his gaze upon the meat, his brain working quickly, his amber eyes alive and bright. At all costs, he decided he must have the meat. His beautiful brush-like tail swayed gently, and his tongue flicked over his jaws. Then he smiled up at the rook and said in a soft voice, "What vision of beauty is this I see?" The rook cocked her head on one side and stared downwards, still holding the piece of meat firmly in her beak. Then she heard the fox say, "Surely those beautiful wings must have come from a fairy nest. They are so fine and strong. And those eyes, so soft and liquid to behold, so starlight and so gentle." The rook fidgeted a little and thought, perhaps I was mistaken. The fox appears to be a most elegant and sensible fellow." The fox took a breath and went on. "Never in all my travels have I seen such exquisite poise, such dignity, and such form. Surely even the graceful swans on the lake would be green with envy if they could see such soft and fairy-like likeness." The rook preened herself but still held tightly to her prize. She was longing to hear more and waited expectantly. The fox continued, "That smooth beak, those dainty feet. This must be the wonderful rook that I've heard so much about." The rook took one step to the right and one step to the left, but still held on to the meat. Then the fox muttered, "Now, if only she could sing like the nightingales. But of course, with such outward beauty, she probably cannot sing at all. What a pity. If only she could sing, she would be the queen of them all." The conceited young rook could contain herself no longer. The fox, she decided, was a gentleman of taste and quality. She must show him that her voice was every bit as beautiful as her figure and her colouring. She simply could not remain silent any longer, and she opened her beak as wide as possible. "Quack, quack, quack," she croaked. making the most ugly sound that ever was heard. There was a sudden bark of excitement from the foot of the tree as the slice of juicy meat fell onto the ground. The fox pounced upon it instantly and gripped it between his strong jaws. As he ran off, the rook screamed in fury, "Caw, caw, caw, you wicked thief! Give me back my meat! Caw, caw, you wicked thief!" But the fox did not return, despite her pleas.